Writing a novel seems like the most daunting task ever. How do you get this small idea and turn it into a whole novel? How do you write enough scenes to call it a book? So today we're going to be talking about all things novel writing. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Norma Balere, and this channel is for those who want to make a career from their passions. So today we're going to be discussing how you turn that idea of yours into a whole novel. The whole process from idea to writing to completing the book. But before we get into it, I just want to say that I have submitted my second draft to my beta readers. So I said in my last writing update that I was going to send my second draft to my beta readers August 1st. Technically, I've not completed it. I just sent the first act. I just want to come here and say that, okay, I've done it. I promised myself online that I was going to do it, and I've already done it. If you want to follow me on this journey of completing my novel, Oge's Custodian, the adult suspense novel that I'm writing, please subscribe and join us. So you get this idea for a novel and they're like, okay, this seems like a very mad novel. I would totally buy this book if I saw it somewhere. How do you get that idea, that tiny idea that's maybe 2 sentences? How do you turn it into a novel that is 90,000 words or 100,000 words? So the idea. So your idea can come in different shapes. Maybe it comes to you as a setting. Okay, you say, okay, I want to write a story about people living underwater. So it comes to you like that. Or it comes to you as just a what if. What if there was a girl that was a kleptomaniac? What kind of story will it be? Or it could come to you as a theme. Maybe just say, I want to talk about the theme of forgiveness. Ideas can come anyhow. Maybe it's a piece of dialogue. You just see two people arguing in your head and you're like, wow, this is going to be a very mad story. Or it could just be inspired from something else. Maybe you see a movie and there's this particular scene that okay, I could take a spin on this and make a novel. So you get that idea. When you get that idea and say, okay, you want to turn this into a novel, if you're a beginner, it can be very daunting. You're like, how do I get this idea? How do I make this idea into a scene? But don't worry, just relax. You've gotten the idea and just sit down, let it breathe. We go on to the next phase, and that's the brainstorming phase. So the brainstorming phase is just when you sit down and you think about your idea. So sometimes you can just sit down and not do anything and just think about your idea. You ask yourself, how do I build upon this idea? So you sit down and you think. Sometimes you can be doing other things and you can be thinking. So personally, when I brainstorm, I don't really sit down and think until I'm getting very close to writing the novel, because I get ideas and it takes maybe 2 years for me to write the idea because I'm working on other things, and I just want my conscious mind to be thinking about it while I'm doing other things. So while I'm writing, I can be thinking about another story. While I'm watching a movie, I can be thinking about the other story. You can decide to sit down and say, okay, for 30 minutes today, I'm just going to think about my story. Sit down and you brainstorm about the characters. If your story is the underwater setting, what kind of lives do they live? Who are they? Are they human beings? Are they mermaids? Are they fishes? Just brainstorm. What kind of characters are there? You need to get to know your characters, because your characters are the ones that are going to pull your story. When you watch a movie or read a book and the storyline seems interesting, but when you get into the book, you just wonder something felt off. So the characters are the one that are going to pull your story. You need to think about your characters. Do they have flaws? What do they like? Do they have backstory? Just be thinking about it. The story of the kleptomaniac girl. Okay, what kind of girl is she? Why does she steal? How do people around her relate to her stealing? Do they know? All those kind of things. Just be thinking about it. Just sit down. This is just a time to think about it. During the brainstorming phase, this is also the time that you find out your genre. Are you writing a thriller? Are you writing a romance? Any story idea can be anything. So if you are thinking that, okay, because it's underwater, it has to be a fantasy. It could be a sci-fi thriller. It could be a contemporary romance. You just need to think of where you're coming from. A kleptomaniac girl, it could be a thriller. Maybe she steals something that she's not meant to steal and people are after her. Or maybe it could be a romance. Maybe she's dating somebody that doesn't know about her kleptomania and she doesn't want to tell him. Those kind of things. So you just brainstorm and you sit down and you think. And when you're thinking, you should not say that, okay, this is not a good idea, this is not a great idea. You just sit down and just think. Continue thinking. Be waving the story in your head. Just be thinking. Because I don't know, I actually like the brainstorming part, because in your mind, your story seems perfect. That's when it just seems perfect. And okay, be building upon this, and that's it. So sit down and brainstorm. You don't need to rush to start writing, because sometimes you can start writing and your story seems very generic because you rushed it because the idea is like hot, and you're like, okay, this is something that seems perfect, I'm going to write. But just take your time and just brainstorm. If you really want to write something, you can just start writing backstory of the characters, or just building your character profile, building your world. Just be thinking about it while you're doing other things. The third thing is to immerse yourself in the story. So personally, I don't used to do this, but there are sometimes that I just feel like immersing myself in my world. So that's when you go to Pinterest and you start searching. If you are writing an underwater story, I want to see how the water looks like, what kind of ocean are they in, what kind of fishes are there. You just be taking pictures, saving pictures, listening to songs that fit your vibe. You can be reading novels that fit the same aesthetic, be watching movies that have the same vibe. The more you're taking, you are building upon your story. So immerse yourself in the story. At the same time, you can be brainstorming. And the thing is that when you immerse yourself, like, you just get that ginger to like, I have to tell this story. So you can build a mood board. You can make videos on your world, on your characters. People draw their characters. People search for actors that look like their characters. So do that. The next phase after doing that is just to write everything down. So some people like writing things immediately it comes to them. Maybe they just get an idea and okay, they have this idea of a character, they write it. If you're the kind of person that feels that okay, if I don't write this thing down, it will go away, write it down. So you don't even need to start worrying about okay, is it organized? If you like, think about the end first, write it down. Maybe you now think about the beginning, then the character, then one flaw. Maybe the person has one scar. Anything, just open one folder on your notes app. Maybe you should get a new book and just be writing it down. Anyhow it's coming, anyhow. You can even be writing just random scenes in your head. Don't even care whether it's organized or whether it's not organized. Just write it down so that at least everything that is in your head, you get it onto the page. So that you'll be able to like start saying, okay, this is how I want to arrange it, or this is not how I want to arrange it. So the next thing that I do is I outline. So I like outlining my stories before I get into them. But people are different. Some people like outlining, some people don't like outlining. So to figure out the kind of person you are, whether you like outlining or you don't like outlining, if you're the kind of person that says, okay, if I outline, like I've written the story, so what's the point of writing a novel? Like you have basically told the story in a short one paper page. If you're the kind of person that says, okay, this is not going to make me enjoy the writing process because I've already thought about the story on my book, then you should not outline. Just start writing, think about the plots as you are writing. But if you're the kind of person that sits down for the laptop and like you don't know what to write because you have not planned beforehand, then you should outline. I'm the kind of person that I can't move forward if I don't know what is going to happen, and I need to know what's going to happen before I start writing. So outline or don't outline. So this is a step that doesn't work for everybody. After you finish outlining, you should start writing. Am I writing in third person or first person? Am I writing in past tense or present tense? Is it a multi-POV book? If you're writing in third person, is it third person omniscient? Is it third person limited? So these are the kind of things that you do. You start writing, you write in chapters, you write in beats, however you want to write. If you like writing linearly, like you write your story from beginning to end, follow that. If you're the kind of person that, okay, write the middle, then I go to the end, then I go to the beginning, then I go to this scene in the middle, then I just write how you want to write. You don't need to worry that, okay, this sentence is not that good, just write. Because it's easy to compare yourself to other books that you have read. But the thing is that all those books that you have read, maybe that's their fourth draft or fifth draft, and maybe they've hired editors to polish their books. So you should stop comparing your first draft to somebody else's sixth draft. So for me, I write my first draft as fast as possible. The novel that I'm currently editing, I wrote it NaNoWriMo, that's last year November, in 30 days. Then the novel before that, I wrote that in 2 batches. So I wrote in February most of it. Then because of school, I did not write anything. Then October, I finished that. So I want to write as fast as possible, because if I slow down, I'll start overthinking the writing. So just write. The next tip I'll give you is, when you're writing, don't listen to any voices in your head. But sometimes when you're writing a story and you're feeling like, okay, this story is too hard for me. Okay, let me drop it. Maybe I'll come back in 2 years when I'm more mature. You have started writing the story, you need to finish it. The thing about finishing your story, even though it's bad, is that it teaches you how to finish. Because if you start and you reach 20,000 words, and you're like, this story is hard, and you start another story and you reach 15,000 words, and you're like, this story is hard. That cycle will continue repeating itself. So you need to know that almost every writer struggles in that middle part. Everybody's like, I don't know if this story is for me. But you just need to push past that resistance and finish it. So even if the story is bad, at least you have finished your story. My last tip is when you're done, you edit your story. So you give it 2 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, and come back to your story. That time you already forgotten everything you have written, and you come back and you're like, okay, you start editing. So you check for plot holes, you check for consistency in the story. Maybe you say that your character is 20 here, you're saying that she's 13 in this other story. So that's when you edit to the story, you check through characters, you check through everything, you comb through dialogue, you comb through punctuation, you edit. People edit as much as 10 times because they just say, okay, second draft, I'm just going to comb through plot holes. Third draft, I'm going to comb through emotions and characters. Fourth draft, you do this, continue editing until you think that it is good enough. But don't need to worry about perfectionism. If your novel is telling the story that you wanted it to be telling, then that's okay. You don't need to spend 10 years over one novel because you will continue improving with each story. And once you've written one novel, you most likely have ideas for more novels, and you don't want to spend all your life writing one. So when you're done, you edit, you give people to give you feedback, critic partners or beta readers to give you feedback, and you do what you want to do with the story. Some people don't want to publish, some people want to self-publish, some people want to traditionally publish. So however you want to do it, you do it. I hope this video helped you out so that you can turn the idea that's in your head into a complete novel. So if you want to follow me as I write my novel, the third draft, first draft, and so on, as I polish it to become the best it can be, then subscribe. I also have several writing videos for you to watch, and I've already put 2 of them on the screen. So till next time.